Welcome to Transforming Lives. My name is Tony Kimball. I'm your host. I'm so excited to have you on tonight. Now, here's what I need you all to do real quickly. I need you to, if you plan to comment, I need you to give Facebook and StreamYard permission. So when your comment comes up, I can post that on the screen. So please do that now. And please share this with a friend. Some important information is going to come out tonight. And so go ahead and share that with your family and your friends. You know, we're talking with genuine people with real lives. Our mission is to allow people from our community to share their stories to encourage others to live a transformed life. Now, in this episode, we'll discuss the success of Miss Carla Kirkland as an educator and as a business owner. She is the founder and the CEO of the Kirkland Group, has been doing education for almost 30 years. She's provided professional development, technical assistance, standardized test preparation to school district, a champion for comprehensive student support. Ms. Kirkland holds memberships in both educational and service groups. She's actively involved in organizations like Education Industry Association, Jack and Jill of America Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha, Sorority Incorporated, the Links Incorporated. She's a lifelong learner and has served as a teacher, a curriculum specialist, and a mentor. She is the co-author, of the Practice Core for Dummies, 101 Practice Core Questions for Dummies, and Practice Elementary Education for Dummies. She facilitates mathematics workshops around the country, and she resides in Mississippi with her husband. Well, guys, it's a joy to have her on tonight. Several weeks ago, I spoke with one of the superintendents about people that have influenced my life. Well, guys, she is that one that has had an impact on my life. So, guys, I'm excited to bring our next guest on right now. Okay? I'm excited about it. It's a joy to have her. Now, she's my boss, so y'all need to behave on this session tonight. All right? So, bringing to the stage Miss Carla Kirkland.
Good evening. How are you today, Tony?
I am well. Thank you for coming on, Miss Kirkland.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, but I have one correction. I've been in education over 30 years now.
Over 30 years. Okay. Over 30 years. I tried to save you some points right there. Okay. I got you. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Corrected. Yeah. So, you know, I'm excited. I mentioned, as I was saying earlier, people that have had an influence on my life. You know, you are one that has had an influence on my life. So, you know, I feel like it's a treat for others to hear about your story because it's definitely impactful in what you have going on right now. So let's go ahead and jump into these questions that I have for you tonight. All right.
Well, thank you.
So thank your husband too, Mr. Kirkland. Definitely thank him for want to say hello to him. Good evening to him as well.
So, I will let him know.
Yes, ma'am. So tell us about Miss Kirkland growing up.
Sure. I was born in Mississippi. At age 2, my parents and my family moved to Dayton, Ohio. And I lived there until age 7. And we returned back to Mississippi. And I think then it was like 1970 or 1971. And we lived in Carthage, Mississippi. I grew up there on a farm with my parents and my 3 brothers. I was very involved in extracurricular activity. And I attended a small school called Edinburgh in Edinburgh, Mississippi, which is near the Choctaw Tribal Reservation. And like I said, I grew up on a farm. I can drive a tractor. I could hunt, just do all the different things. Having 3 brothers, you just grow up being a tomboy.
Okay. I just learned something right there. I didn't know some of those parts. Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am. Okay. And when you talk about it, I guess we have something in common. I didn't do the tractors, but I did grow up in the country. So we definitely have something in common there. So you spoke about having brothers. So one of my next question is, you spoke about your parents. Um, who were the three people who had the most influence?
So, if you don't mind, I would like to let it be three categories.
Categories. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. First, I would say my parents. My father was an entrepreneur, hard worker, and I learned a lot about work ethic
Hmm.
from he and my mom. And from my mom, I really learned how to be able to work and take care of home. So I learned so much from both of them. They're very influential in my life. Secondly, I want to say that I had some great teachers, and it just speaks to one of the reasons I wanted to become an educator. I had wonderful teachers, um, Miss Miss Owens, Miss Gage, Miss Jackson, Mr. Martin, Mr. Timms, Miss Brown. I can just rattle off names of people who influenced me to go into mathematics. My math teacher, Miss Harrell.
Hmm.
So those individuals just made me feel very confident while
Okay.
growing up. Then one of the third individuals that I would say that was most influential in my life is Dr. Barbara Doherty. Um,
Right.
she is a professor at the University of Hawaii, and she's an author of many different books. And she encouraged me to go into consulting, and she really opened up a lot of opportunities that I would have never had. Like, I was able to travel to Hawaii 3 different times and work on their Algebra 1 curriculum and receive
Hmm.
training. So she was very influential in my life as well.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Dr. Daughtery, she's she's touching everybody in the
Yeah,
country.
yeah, she's number one.
Absolutely. So when you begin to speak about things that categories in terms
Mhm.
of influence. So how did your career in education begin?
Well, my career began at Piney Woods Country Life School. It's now called Piney Woods School. It's a boarding school in Rankin County.
Hmm.
And I was a teacher there. I started teaching there in the 80s. And I left Piney Woods. I was a math teacher and then a math department chair and very much involved in a lot of the different things on campus. And then I worked in Jackson Public School District as a teacher. I left Jackson Public Schools and went to work at the Mississippi Department of Education. So, in the Department of Education, I served as the state math specialist,
Okay.
and I was in charge of mathematics curriculum K 12,
Hmm.
providing professional development all across the state, in and out of the state, attending national conferences, and just being able to support school districts across the state through professional development and curriculum development. And that role allowed me to work with NCTM, which is the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. So I've had a
Hmm.
blessed career. I left that position and served as the statistics director
Hmm.
in MIS.
Okay.
Um, and so I worked with school districts on data. Um, and I left that position and decided to move into consulting. So in every role, I learned a little bit more to help me get to this place.
Wow. And and that was leading to my next question on how did it lead you to your business and your could you share a little bit about just you going into your business? How did that lead you into your business?
Yes, I love sharing this story. While I was statistics director, I was receiving calls from individuals saying, Carla, we need you to provide professional development for us. Can't you provide that type of support? And, I let them know I'm still with the State Department, can't do that kind of work. But by that time, my daughter was 1 and my son was 8. And I
Okay.
wanted to have more time with my family and be able to be in charge of my time and be in charge of my destiny and be in charge of my income. And so what I did is I left that position at the State Department, and my first job, professional development, uh, as my own as a CEO
Hmm.
was with Picayune, Mississippi, in Picayune, Mississippi.
Okay.
And Christina Green, who is now one of my associate vice presidents of the company, traveled with me and my children, and we went to Picayune and worked for 5 days providing professional development for teachers. So that was the start of
Oh,
the company.
okay. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. That's good to know right there. Yeah.
And look,
But
that was in 1997 when we began this business. And believe it or not, there were only 2 consulting firms then,
wow.
me, and at that time I was called Mathematical Connection
Okay.
Consulting Firm. And I kept that name until we started expanding to do other subject areas. And there were 2 Carlas in the state. So they would, to distinguish between the 2 of us, they say, well, the Kirkland one. And so I just named the company the Kirkland Group.
And that's great to hear because and I tell this story. I remember several times where I was able to go. Actually, when you had the building, it was in Jackson. I can't remember the address, but I remember going into and it's amazing how life changes around. I remember you doing a calculator training
That's
in
right.
Grenada, Mississippi. I think that might have been my first time seeing you,
Mm,
and that same you spoke about the work ethic.
yeah.
I definitely remember. I drove the bus there.
Ah,
I drove the kids there on the bus, but I remember I remember that vividly.
yeah.
You talking about doing those professional development. So, wow,
I,
1997.
yeah, I've lived a fortunate life where I've been given opportunities um, that I know have just uh, added to my destiny. And I know that if I didn't walk through the teacher role as a teacher, then as a department chair, and then as a state math specialist, and all of those things have helped me in my role of what I do today because I had to work with the Office of Student Assessment.
Mm-hmm.
I was the consultant who went before the State Department of Education and presented the use of a graphing calculator. And they approved the use of a graphing calculator while I was state math specialist.
Well, we thank you for that. We
Ah,
thank you. Thank you tremendously for that
yeah,
one.
we needed that one.
Yes, ma'am. So, um, you in those many roles. My next question, that you've been in. So, my next question is, what does transformation look like in your life?
Well, let me tell you this. I am a mathematics person, so I think things in terms of mathematical terms sometimes.
Hmm.
And when you think of transformations in mathematics, you think of rigid and
Hmm.
non-rigid um, figures.
Right.
It can be broken into 2 categories, and their transformation in my life. So there have been times where I've had to be rigid,
Hmm.
and when you think of being rigid, you can't change. You can't change your size or your shape of your pre-image.
Right. Yes,
So
ma'am.
there have been times I've had to be rigid along the way. in the company, in decisions I've made. Then there have been times where I've had to be non-rigid. There are 4 different types of transformations. There's a translation, a reflection, a dilation, and a rotation. When you think of translation, you're thinking of a slide.
Right.
There have been times where I've had to move myself by sliding into different roles, depending on the time. In these 23 years of having the Kirkland Group, a lot of things have happened, and I've had to adjust. I've had to rotate or pivot. For instance, most recently, I've had to rotate and pivot, turn from doing face-to-face professional development to now making sure everyone can provide virtual professional development through the different types of learning management systems. And you know that because you're helping us build that. There have been times I've had to flip, which is a reflection, which is another type of transformation. And I've had to change very quickly, sometimes within a day, because of based on the needs, what is needed at that time. The last thing, a dilation, where I've had to reduce some things or expand some things. So as a CEO, you have to learn to transform quickly.
Right.
It's not always transformation is a type of change, but sometimes that change comes internally, and sometimes it's an external change. So I've changed over these 23 years.
Absolutely.
And my life has transformed in many different ways.
Absolutely. That's important. And I like how you brought the bath in there. So yeah, right. So I'm going to pause a moment. I have a couple of comments. At some point, this is Jaleisha saying that's awesome. So I didn't get it in time, but she said that's awesome. Also, Miss Jennifer Gaston, this was my partner in crime years ago. So also here's my classmate saying, good evening, everyone. And this is another classmate saying transformation. Yes. So that is awesome. So thank you all for those comments. So, you know what, my next question is you broke down the rigid and non-rigid, and you laid out a great example. So when we think about 2 keys to transformation, you talked about being able to pivot. What are 2 keys to transformation?
Well, first, I believe we have to be willing to be transformed by being flexible. I happen to have a strong belief in God. And throughout my career, I've had to, sometimes you may be moving forward and doing some things that you thought was the right direction. And you've had God really speak to your heart to let you know, Carla, I need you to do this way. So just being willing to be flexible and not be so rigid that I only want to do things my way. Because, doing things our way can sometimes lead you into a path that we can't handle. So that's one thing I'd say is be willing to be transformed by being flexible. And secondly, be open to experiment. I need to be able to adapt. I need to be able to try new things. If I had not been willing to try new things, Kirkland Group could have ended in February because no one needed face-to-face PD.
Right.
But if I was so rigid that I was unwilling to change, then where would Kirkland Group be now? But now we're able to provide professional development, face to face, through Google Classrooms, through Canvas. We're meeting on Zoom. We're developing trainings just based on the topic. When people tell us what they need, we develop that. So just being able to be flexible every day
Right.
and to be willing to try new things.
Right. We're thankful for the flexibility.
You're part of that, Tony. So thanks for all that you do.
Thank you very much. And it's important. You spoke about God. That's important to be able and to hear, to make those moves, and that's powerful to hear from a CEO. So that's definitely a great thing, and hopefully those listeners that are on right now, that you hear that, and that this founder, this CEO, is allowing God to direct her. So that is awesome.
Yes, and Tony, I want to add one thing. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but it does mean I'm being perfected.
Okay, good.
I think of it that way all the time, that I couldn't have done this for 23 years and been successful had it not been for the grace and mercy of God, and through times of prayer and just seeking his word. And that's my personal testimony. And being the CEO, I can say that.
Right.
And being the CEO, those employees and contractors who work with us, we're able to speak about the goodness of God. We separate school from church, but as a company, we walk by faith.
And that's why it's important when you talk about transformation, it is being perfected, as you were talking about.
Yes.
It's a constant change. A couple of people have made a comment of just saying, indeed, love this. Another person said, amen, like the scripture says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
That's important. So amen to that. Absolutely. It's important to understand your source and be able to move. So, I'm positive that there are parents that are on, you talked about in February making that move.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give parents to ensure that children are on track to educational success moving into this new normal?
Yes. One of the first things I'd suggest is that parents work closely with their teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Become a part of the learning management system so that you can get into that Google Classroom or get into Canvas, that Canvas account. Look at your children's grades. Look at their quizzes. Look at upcoming assignments. Have discussions with your children about that. Communicate with the teacher to find out what's going on in that classroom. Then also become involved in the instruction, whether it's virtual or face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have an opportunity to look into that classroom while the teacher teaches. Take time to do that so that you can see, how is your child interacting? Are they asking questions? Or are they confused and they're being very quiet?
Mm-hmm.
Next, make sure that the children have the necessary tools to be able to be fully engaged in their classes. You would not believe the number of children who do not have a device so that they can log into their virtual classroom. So they're having to use packets.
Mm-hmm.
But those same children are asking for lavish gifts. So I would suggest that parents budget. If the school is unable to provide a computer, purchase that for their child. Purchase an iPad. Purchase something so that the children are not left behind. Then also make sure that they have internet if they can. And if internet is an issue, and they live in a secluded area and maybe they don't have internet right now, find other alternatives. don't let the children not having technology be a reason that they are not receiving proper instruction. One thing that I suggest is if you don't have internet access, take your child's computer, go to the school, go to the office, log into the school system,
Mhm.
download any information that the child needs, go back home, and let them pull it up from just their computer. They may be a week behind or a class behind, but it's still an opportunity for them to see the lesson over and over again.
Absolutely. That that's making it happen. That's pivoting. That's
Yeah,
finding a way. So absolutely that's important. So parents, if that are looking at this later, understand that you still have options, and we believe that you can make this happen. So what look, we're getting close to the end. What's one thing I didn't ask that you would like to share, Ms. Kirkland?
um, one thing that maybe you didn't ask about that I'd like to share is that Kirkland Group is now um, providing financial counseling. So we're expanding what we're doing, and let me tell you about that. One of the things that is required for individuals who are in bankruptcy,
Mhm.
they're required to go through a financial counseling course. So that's another one of the services that we're going to start providing,
Awesome.
where we will train individuals and they can come to us to take a course if they, have had to file
Mhm.
bankruptcy. And we train them on how to set up a budget and how to adjust their expenses, reduce expenses
Mhm.
through just creative ideas that I've come up with through research. This is being done all across the United States, all across um, ev- the country.
Right. Mhm.
Um, Dave Ramsey is one
Right.
of the leaders in this type of instruction, but I believe that Kirkland Group has a place in that market as well. So that's one thing you didn't ask me about, but I wanted to just put that in there.
Well, that one, yes, okay, that's important because we're still talking about transformation, making those adjustments. This
Yes,
is a market that definitely listeners, it's important because we all have to make those adjustments, and this is a great time to make those adjustments, like right now.
yeah.
So that's great. Yeah, that snuck that one on me. Okay.
Absolutely. So in fact, I'm making my first presentation tomorrow. I'm excited about it. Where
Awesome.
I'm training a group of about 14 people, and I've been working on that all day today, just finalizing the presentation. But it's a start of something new. And what Kirkland Group is doing is, um, I had to take a course myself to become a financial counselor, and now we'll look to bring in some more individuals who are willing to do that, so that they can deliver the training as well.
Well, congratulations. That, as Lloyd just said, great information. Absolutely. Um, awesome. So, yeah, I'm trying to gather myself up back.
I was able to just sneak that one in on you, wasn't I?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm gathering myself back. So we're down to 2 minute warning.
Mhm.
What's three words you want to leave the listeners with?
One thing is communication.
Hmm.
Make sure that the children are great communicators, speaking, listening, reading, writing, modeling. Secondly, literacy, making
Yes.
sure that your children are literate,
Right.
um, both through numeracy and through reading materials. And then lastly, it's more than one word, but it's never give up.
Right.
Never give up. If your child is struggling or if you are struggling, never give up. There are so many times over these 23 years that the thought came to my mind, Carla, why don't you just do something different?
Hmm.
But I couldn't. And I'm
Right.
so glad I did.
Right. Yeah, we're glad. Thank you for not quitting. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
So that's important. Never give up.
That's
So, Miss Smith, Miss Kathy said, congratulations. She's got the information as well. She said, congratulations to you.
Kathy.
So how can the viewers reach you online?
Yes. We have a website, kirklandgroup.org. And on that website, they can email us at info@kirklandgroup.org. And they can actually submit questions or send me an email directly through that website. We provide tutoring as well, so we can help connect you with a tutor. We can help connect you with, provide services for any learning management system. And then there's a flyer that you have, Tony, that where we are providing workshops for teachers and where they can sign up individually.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
don't have to go through their school. If you see it here is learning support. Look through the learning management system, video conferencing, student engagement. So there are a lot of different things at the G Suite. So there are several different things that we're offering. And I'd like to invite teachers to sign up for these sessions. And if you notice the G Suite, it has 4 sessions. They're 2-hour sessions. They're after school. They're 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. They can sit in the comfort of their own home and then receive 8/10 of a CEU if they attend all 4 sessions. Same thing with student engagement with interactive applications. They can receive 8/10 CEUs if they attend all 4 sessions.
Well, Ms. Kirkland, thank you so much of providing that information. Thank you for coming on Transforming Lives. You've given valuable words of wisdom, hope to those that are listening. And I'm excited about what the future holds.
Thank you
Anything?
for having me. Thank you for having me, Tony. I've enjoyed this session, and I truly hope that this information helps someone.
Thank you very much. Um, this concludes our session, guys. Next week, we're on. Tune in 8 o'clock on Tuesdays, where we are talking about transforming lives. Thank you guys for joining. You have an awesome night, and we'll talk with you later. Good night.
Good evening.